So slowest attack, fastest release, which allows the most transient to come through. I'll drive it more into the compressor so you can hear what's happening. If you listen closely to the attack of the kick, you can hear how much it changes when I'm driving it this hard. In these videos, I'll go through every aspect of this mix.
Because everything will always come after my misery. I swear I tried to push you first, but you never stood a chance. No, you never stood a chance.
And we'll start with this video on how I mix the kick. So let's get started. So we have 3 kick tracks here. The first kick is the dynamic kick straight out of the Modern and Massive plugin from Get Good Drums. And then second kick is a phase aligned kick from Trigger 2. Then we've got the kick out, which is also from Modern and Massive, the sub kick, the sub mic. They are all bussed to this bus here, which is kick, which is where all the processing happens. And then the kick bus, along with other shells, which we'll get into in later videos, is bussed to this drum bus here. So you have these 2 plugins on and I'll mix into them. So this first one here is the NLS channel, non-linear summer channel from Waves. If you see my other videos, you know I love this plugin. It's just saturation. So I've got it on the mic preset here, which adds quite a lot of low end and a lot of weight. And then we have a bus compressor here, which is the Townhouse compressor from Plugin Alliance. And that is doing a slowest attack, fastest release. So that we get all that transient and as much punch and energy as we can. And that will be working on all the drums. Okay, so getting into the kick plugins, I'll go through the plugins quickly, and then if you want to hear about each one in more detail, I'll then go back through and explain every move. So let's start here with the Pro Q3, just a normal EQ. I haven't rolled off completely. It's a very slow slope here, but for a Q of 0.2 or 0.29 at 12 hertz, I don't want to get rid of that sub. I just want to control it. And then here you've actually got quite a big decibel, 5 decibel boost here on 50 hertz, which is where the fundamental of the kick was. And then you've got this one at sort of 42 or 41.5. Just because with that big boost came a little bit of boom. So I tamed that so I could still get away with the big fundamental boost here. A cut at 90, again, was where it was getting a bit boomy. Another cut up here, just under 200 hertz. Yeah, again, just to sort of clean up that low end and allow me to get that big boost. Followed up with a compressor, CLA 76, slowest attack, fastest release. So again, getting all the transient information I can, really emphasizing that transient of the kick. And we've got a nice sort of analog EQ. I like the character of this. So rather than do it in the Pro Q3, I liked how this sounded. If you notice, it's actually boosting mids. I didn't want a super scooped like metal kick. I want those mids to come through. So I've got a boost at the 160 hertz here and the 650. Now you don't always see that on kicks, but I wanted some of those mids to come through and be present along with the mid range of the guitars. And another sort of upper mids boost here at 1K. This kick had a really nice smack at 1K. That's why that's the only thing that's happening there is that 1K is 4.5 decibel boost there. Into a C4 multiband compressor, just controlling the low end. You see the other bands are bypassed, 88 hertz and below, and it's only ducking out. And it's set so gently, as you can see the threshold's all the way up here, because there's a bit in the bridge where the kick goes a bit nuts, or nuts for this kind of music anyway. So it only really will kick in at that point. R bass, which is generating harmonics around the frequency again of 50 hertz, really low down at 10.5 or minus 10.5. I'm sure we've all seen R bass before, just allows you to hear that bass of the kick on smaller speakers. And into a clipper, which I'm hitting pretty hard. You know, this is actually quite, the tempo's not too fast. I wanted it to hit. I wanted that kick to be there, hence the heavy clipping. Okay, so let's actually go through those plugins in a lot more detail. This is the drums by themselves. If you listen to that kick, you can hear that it's got quite a lot of mid-range slap in it, which is exactly what I wanted, because I wanted that in with the mid-range of the guitars to get the energy of the song in that sort of area. So back to this first EQ, I will show you, I'll solo out the bands, and hopefully you'll hear why I did what I did. Yeah, you can hear that's the fundamental, but you can hear it's quite flubby. I don't know if that's a word. That's why you've got these 3 cuts happening at the same time. That's why even though you've got quite a strong boost around the fundamental, it still sounds kind of mid-rangey, but it still has that low end thud that you want. So I've gone through and I've picked out those specific problem frequencies, ducked them so that I can get away with that big boost. So let's hear the compressor. So slowest attack, fastest release, which allows the most transient to come through. So I'll turn this off and then we'll turn it on again and you'll see what it's doing. It's quite subtle by itself, but it does clean up that low end, the sort of low end tail that you get from the kick. It does give it a bit more of an impact. I'll drive it more into the compressor so you can hear what's happening. Obviously, I'll never mix it like that. That way your ear can catch the effect of the compressor. If you listen closely to the attack of the kick, you can hear how much it changes when I'm driving it this hard. I'll play it again and show you. Hear that attack is really slapping. Okay, and then that was into this EQ here, so I'll show you what each band is doing. So again, you can hear that extra mid-range when I turn it on. Let's put this back to 0. Do them one by one. These would have been moves I did with the whole mix playing, because I don't think you'd ever want to shape a kick like that without hearing it in the context of the whole mix. Okay, so this 1K slap I was talking about, 4.5 decibels. Let's hear that. That's quite drastic, that one. And that, again, that would have been with the guitars in, so you want to push it, or I'm trying to push it into the mids of the guitars. The multi-band compressor, I don't think it'll be doing too much at this point. We'll have a look. Yeah, see, that's barely touching. Move across to the bridge where it really starts to work hard. Or like here with the double kick. Those fast bits without it would really build up in the mix with the bass and everything. I tried to do it as gently as possible because I didn't want it to affect the rest of the song. And I'm lazy, I didn't want to automate. Okay, R-Bass. So I'm very careful with this plugin. Some people can use it really well and use a lot of it. I find it just muddies up what I do. But I do need it in there because I think you can tell on iPhone or Bluetooth speakers that it's not there. But listening now, you'll still hear a sort of presence of the low end disappear when it's in bypass. And the clipper. Again, this looks like a drastic move, but you have a sound in your head and you do what you can to get it. Quite aggressive, a lot of bite. That's what a lot of the Joey Sturgis Tones plugins do. They pack a punch. I just quickly want to mention that if you make music like this and want your next song to sound like this, I do offer mixing over at my website, terrybeckleyrecording.com. So if that interests you, then hit me up via the contact form there. The link is in the description. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to turn all the plugins off of the kick, and we'll bring each one in one by one. So you can see that even though they're subtle moves, by the end of it, it's quite a drastically different sound. Yeah, it's quite different. Let's go from nothing to everything. So one extra thing I want to point out is the individual samples and how they sound. And I'll show you which ones I picked. Okay, so for Modern and Massive, it opens up on this steel one here, but I don't like the attack too much of that one. I always go for this here, the Tama Star Classic. That sounds like this by itself. If you add in the sub that comes from GGD, it sounds like this. But what I'm actually listening for is the attack of with the top end attack and how the low end sounds. I would have auditioned that with the bass and guitar, with the guitar tones especially. If you've seen one of my earlier videos about getting an emo kick sound, I pick my guitar tones first and I'll audition the kicks in the plugin to see which one just feels best. Then let's listen to the actual sample which I got from Trigger 2. That's where a lot of the mid-range and the bulk of the kick actually comes from. Let's have a look at the actual Trigger 2 sample that I used. That is the Dream Kick Z3 mic, which does actually come with Trigger. And then you've got this Dragged Under kick here, which I stole from the band Dragged Under. That is just a one-shot. We can hear those also. The Dream Kick sounds like this. And the Dragged Under kick sounds like this. Both of them together. That's your much more clean sounding, typical sampled kick drum sound. Why I blended it with quite a dynamically programmed, quite realistic kick from GDD. Not sure how useful hearing that is because they're all very specific to the song. But I guess the point I'm trying to drive home is cycle through your samples and build most of your kick sound from samples before you even start to get into the actual carving it with EQ and compression. So I'll be doing snare, toms, and then eventually all the drums, and then all the bass, guitar, vocals, master bus, everything in this mix. I'll walk you through the whole thing. If you want to see those videos, then subscribe. The link will be in the description. And if you want me to mix your next song, head over to terrybeckleyrecording.com and hit me up via the contact form. I will get back to you.